This is modern day Morocco. Morocco has a pretty interesting history, but this video isn't about Morocco. This video is about the Kingdom of Sus. But in order to know about the Kingdom of Sus, you kinda gotta know a little bit about Morocco as a whole. During the 1400s, Morocco was led by the Minarid dynasty. I hope I pronounced that right. I probably didn't. But under the Minarid dynasty's rule, Morocco was divided into 4 sub-state regions. These sub-states were technically independent, but they were still ruled by Morocco. The 4 sub-states, The 4 sub-states were the Kingdom of Fez, the Kingdom of Tafilet, and the infamous Kingdom of Sus. And the 4th one is the Kingdom of Marrakesh, which is basically just Morocco. The Kingdom of Marrakesh technically ruled over all of these sub-states, and they were all still technically ruled by Morocco. Things were pretty peaceful for Morocco in the 1500s, except for when Portugal decided to invade in the 1540s. But Morocco fought back, and was able to repel the Portuguese invasion from the Moroccan coastline by somewhere around the 1550s. The sub-states had little conflict with each other, basically none at all, and they also made little attempt to break off from mainland Morocco, and they were pretty content with being part of Morocco. Besides that though, Morocco did pick favorites out of the sub-states, and much more waned in favor of the Kingdom of Fez, which was the most popular side of the sub-states. Besides that though, the Kingdom of Sus was the most agricultural region of Morocco at the time. And they also had the very wealthy city of Agadir, which was a port city / trading city, where a lot of Europeans sold their goods. And it was a very important city in Morocco, and it still is to this day. Anyways, throughout the 1600s and 1700s, things were pretty peaceful for Morocco. But there was some occasional infighting between some dynasties within Morocco fighting for control. But this didn't really involve the Kingdom of Sus too much, and this video is not about Morocco. This video is about the Kingdom of Sus. So, I'm not going to be covering too much about the dynastic warfare within Morocco during this time. But I might say that for like a different video. But it did not involve the Kingdom of Sus too much. In the 1800s, Morocco was not doing very well. They had been exhausted by dynastic warfare, and had recently been on edge from the recent Napoleonic Wars. And somewhere in the 1850s, Spain decided to invade in order to expand their dying colonial empire. And Morocco and the Kingdom of Sus, along with the other sub-states, were not prepared for this Spanish invasion. And this would be known as the Hispano-Moroccan War. By the 1900s, Morocco was not doing very well. They had been exhausted by the Spanish imperialism, and they had lost many of their territories to Spain. The Kingdom of Sus had lost the territory of Sid Ifan. I think that's how you say it. I probably butchered that, but yeah. The Kingdom of Sus would lose some territories to Spain, and they were not doing very well, along with the rest of Morocco, which had become ever more divided. Their military was also very weak, and their economy was pretty bad, which would lead other powers to start looking to Morocco for more of their imperialist interests. Morocco had also become a hotspot for colonialism, as it was right next to Spain and near the Strait of Gibraltar, which was a very strategic position. So a lot of nations were looking at Morocco during this time for strategic interest and to expand their colonial empires. In 1912, France realized the situation Morocco was in, and along with Spain decided to launch a joint invasion into Morocco. And Morocco was not prepared for this at all, and nor was the Kingdom of Sus, or any other of the sub-states. And this war would sadly end in Morocco's existence being cut by the colonial powers. And after this, it would be quite a few decades before Morocco appears on the map again. And this would unfortunately be the end for the sub-states. By 1913, Morocco had been divided by two colonial powers, Spain and France. The sub-state kingdoms of Fez, Tafillat, hope I pronounced that right, and the Sus kingdom had been both turned in, all were turned into protectorates by the colonial powers. France annexed the kingdom of Marrakech and Tafillat, I think, and the kingdom of Fez and the Sus kingdom had been turned into just one Spanish protectorate. Both protectorates would serve as what Morocco would be for the next few decades. And Morocco would unfortunately have to suffer under colonial rule. And this would unfortunately be the end for the sub-state kingdoms of Morocco. Eventually, in 1956, facing pressure from America and other Western powers, France got pretty tired of staying in Morocco. Although, this was terrible news for the Spanish colonies in the region, who were depending on France to stay in Morocco so that an independent Morocco would not engulf the Spanish colonies. The idea of France leaving Morocco put the Spanish colonies at great risk of being conquered and reincorporated into the new Morocco. In 1956, Morocco, the main French protectorate in Morocco, broke off and became independent after the French abandoned their protectorate. The Spanish colonies in the region would soon follow and would also become part of the new independent Morocco, although a few Spanish holdouts and a few tiny port cities would hold out in northern Morocco, and there are actually a few of them still to this day in modern-day Morocco. Sadly though, after the reunification of the Kingdom of Morocco, the sub-kingdoms would not be revived, and instead would be turned into regions of Morocco, much like states in the United States, but they had significantly less freedom and were significantly reduced. And they're basically just administrative districts now, instead of their own kingdoms, and they're basically just part of Morocco. Their customs had been removed, and they were officially now part of Morocco with limited autonomy. Although in some regions, there is autonomy, and there's been some questionable stuff going on in southern Morocco, but this would sadly not have anything to do with the Kingdom of Sus, and the Kingdom of Sus would not be reborn after Morocco reunited in 1956, and nor would any of the other sub-states. And sadly, this is where Morocco's history, Kingdom of Sus history comes to an end, or any possible chance of reviving it. And there still could be a chance the Kingdom of Sus could be revived, but I doubt it. They're pretty happy being part of Morocco, and it wouldn't really make too much sense of them becoming independent. They don't really have that much of a national identity. They were sort of like part of Morocco when they were a sub-state, and it didn't really make much sense of them even existing in the first place. They were sort of just little administrative sub-regions, and it's sort of better for Morocco to just be in charge of the Kingdom of Sus. So yeah, that is the history of the Kingdom of Sus. Hope you enjoyed this video, broskies, and I will see you in the next video. Also, this took a really long time editing. I am very sorry about that, but this is like my first time doing a really long video like this, or actually no, this is not my first time. I've made longer videos, but this video took a lot of editing, and the way I made this video was it took a lot. Like, you can probably hear this in some of the audio lines, but I recorded individual audio for each of the images so I could put them together easier, but it was not that easy doing. It actually took a lot, and I sort of jumbled up all the recordings, so it took a while to organize them, and this just took a while editing, but I'm happy it's complete, finally, and we have the Kingdom of Sus. The Susian history has been remade on this channel, and I don't know, this one's a lot better than the last Kingdom of Sus video. The last one was absolutely awful, terrible. And I'll leave some additional information in the description, and I'll leave some of the very few sources I got on this topic in the description as well. there were not a lot of topics on the Kingdom of Sus, and I'd have to say the thing where I got the borders for the Kingdom of Sus were from a game history too. Uh, I'll leave like a screenshot at the end of the video of like the maps of the sub-regions that I got from the game, and I'll leave some additional sources that I got on this topic in the comments below. Although there were I mean not in the comments, in the description. But yeah, this took a while editing. Thank you, broskies, for waiting. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more videos. And, yeah, thank you for watching. That's pretty much all I have to say. That's history of the Kingdom of Sus. And, yeah, I'll see you, broskies, in the next video. Alright, bye.